want you to picture something. It's 8 p.m. You've already had a satisfying dinner, and you have suddenly this intense, insatiable craving for either something sweet or something salty and crunchy before you go to bed. So you're standing in front of your pantry, staring and to see what is going to satisfy this craving that you have. Raise your hand or give this video a quick like if that's ever happened to you, because I know that it's happened to me, and it happens to so many of the women, pretty much all of the women that I work with on a daily basis. Something that we're often told in modern nutrition and health and wellness is that cravings mean our body is telling us something. So we often think, if I'm craving this, my body must need it. And there's a lot around intuitive eating that talks about indulging in your cravings because it must be something that your body needs. But is this actually true? I want to tell you something today that's a little controversial, but that voice is, in many cases, lying to you. So today we're going to take a deep dive into what cravings are, what they mean, how to overcome them, and how to make sure your body is getting exactly what it needs so you can be confident in nutrition moving forward rather than being confused by all of the food noise. Hi, my name is Courtney. I am a board certified health and wellness coach, holistic nutritionist, and personal trainer. And my sole purpose is to help women get their energy back, their lives back, to lower pain, to help them feel freer in their bodies. But we all deal with cravings, myself included. So today we're going to talk about what they actually mean, how you can harness them for your benefit, and how you can get rid of all of the extra noise that we are inundated with from day in and day out from people from every corner of the internet and media. Here's my belief, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A craving is information, but it is not instruction, right? Our body has cravings, but it doesn't only dispense to us what we need. The health and wellness industry is selling us an oversimplified idea that can keep us stuck, spinning our wheels and feeling guilty. I want to give you another real life example, and I would just like to ask you to be open-minded because this example came from a Reddit post that I actually read last night, and it was a woman that was in transition from going from the standard American diet to a plant-based vegan diet. And before you say, whoa, that's not me, this is just an example about a craving, and this craving was for meat. But this applies to all cravings, not just this one particular craving. But she posed the question, I'm a month into my transition, but I've been craving meat. What does this mean? Does it mean that my body needs to eat meat? And I responded, but this is so prevalent, and I want to talk to you about it today because, again, it's not just about that one type of craving. We have sweet cravings, we have salty cravings, we have crunchy cravings, we have cravings when we're not even hungry, and this applies to all of them. Cravings are completely normal, but it doesn't necessarily mean our body needs exactly what we're craving. But in order to understand the science and the physiology behind cravings, we have to first understand where these come from in the first place. Here's where I'm going to be unapologetic and call out the health and wellness industry as a whole, because we hear statements like, your body never lies. If you're craving it, you must need it. Cravings are a body's way of telling you what you need, so you should honor that. And intuitive eating means eating whatever you want, whenever you want, as long as you're listening to your body. And I want you to realize why that information or these sayings spread so quickly. It's because it sounds accurate. It sounds amazing. No one wants to distrust their body. We all want to be in tune with our bodies. And it is very easy to hop on board with these schools of thought and think nothing of it. This message might feel like relief and healing from chronic diet culture, but there is something that is missing from these messages, and it is what no one is talking about. These ways of thinking actually are just a way of giving us permission to have whatever we want when we want without asking follow-up questions. And I'm not talking about depriving ourselves or orthorexia and only eating healthy things. I certainly don't only eat healthy things. But we have to understand where cravings are coming from and why they're occurring. And we're getting it confused because modern culture is spinning cravings into some sort of like intuitive, body positive sort of thing as a permission slip to just have whatever you want because your body must need it, right? Wrong. That's not intuition. That is a convenient excuse dressed up as wisdom. And I'm not here to shame anyone that has thought these ways in the past, but I'm here to tell you the truth so you can actually make some progress. If you want to get out of the cycles of chronic pain, migraine, gut dysfunction, fatigue, and weight loss resistance, we can't be living in a world of excuses and a place that tells us to eat whatever we want, because the number one healing tool that we have is our fork. If we just take a moment to go one step further and ask ourselves a couple questions, this logic that we've been sold that sounds amazing, sounds accurate, sounds like exactly something that we want to subscribe to, the argument quickly unravels and falls flat on its face. Let's say you're having a craving for cupcakes or cakes, ho-hos. I used to love the Swiss cake rolls with the chocolate on the outside. I would like peel the chocolate off, then unroll it. They were my absolute favorite thing growing up, followed by brownies. Huge chocolate fan here. We can talk about my chocolate cravings a little bit later, but let's say you've got cravings for sweets like that, ultra processed junk. That craving is not a sign that your body is short on ho-hos and Swiss cake rolls, my friend. It is not a craving that you need to indulge. Sometimes what these cravings are wrapped up in are tradition, comfort, emotional safety. And where there is an aspect to cravings for that, it's not something that the body actually nutritionally needs. Maybe these foods are tied up in memories. Maybe it means a celebration. Maybe it means comfort when you were alone. And that is not something that I want to ignore. But if we stay in a place where we're constantly honoring our cravings and not what nourishment actually looks like, then we will continue to stay stuck. So I'm going to get a little bit personal with you. I used to bartend throughout college, after college. I bartended, waited tables, and I used to drink more than I'd like to admit. I used to drink alcohol more than I'd like to admit. Every now and again, I will have a craving for alcohol. I just recently actually made the decision to no longer consume alcohol. I've been phasing it out of my life for the past few years now, but I just made the conscious and intentional decision to say goodbye to it. Does that mean I'll never have another drink again in my life? I'm not sure. Maybe, maybe not. But right now, this is where my intention lies. But I want to tell you something. Every now and again, I have a craving for alcohol. I used to love red wine. It would give me a terrible migraine, especially as things continued to progress, but I still enjoyed the flavor. When we're on vacation, when it's a sunny day out and I'm driving in the car listening to music, I think it would be great to have a cup of cocktails today. When we're with friends at birthday parties, just because I choose not to consume alcohol anymore doesn't mean I don't ever crave it. But that craving isn't because my body needs it. That craving is there because of habit, because of memory, because of the social environment that I am in. It's not because the body needs it. And it's very interesting because we'll look at food cravings and say, clearly the body needs something that you're craving. And we look at other things like alcohol and be like, well, duh, doesn't mean your body needs it. We have a double standard that needs to be addressed. Likewise, with alcohol, I'll expose myself a little more here. I used to smoke cigarettes, about a pack a day. I knew it was a nasty habit. I've worked in hospitals. I went to school for biology. I know that it's not good for me, but I will still at times pass someone that's smoking and that smells good to me and I will crave having a cigarette. Or when I was drinking, I would crave having a cigarette. That is not a sign that the body needs something. I didn't need nicotine or any of the garbage that was in the cigarette. It's a learned association because that's what I have done in my past. Oftentimes we have these cravings from things that we have, or habits that we have built in the past, but that does not mean that our body is in need of something in that cigarette. I hope this is tracking for you. I'm going to give you one more example. Drug addicts, people that are addicted to hard substances. They are addicted to substances that can kill them either slowly, but sometimes very quickly. It's not because their body needs it for some nutritional purpose or for it to survive. Remember, our body's desire, our goals, any species, the only goal is to survive and reproduce, right? When we're addicted to these substances, we want them regardless of whether or not they're actually healthy for us. So hopefully with these examples alone, you can clearly see that cravings as a whole do not mean that you need something and it is okay to put your long-term health goals aside for a momentary craving. Now, as you've seen, sometimes cravings can be completely misleading, but there is some nuance. A lot of cravings still do mean that your body is lacking something. So we're going to talk about some of these, dive into them, and then we're going to talk about what you can do so you can actually reduce your cravings, reduce the food noise, and still nourish your body so it can thrive. I'll start with sweets because I am a girl with a sweet tooth. At least I was. And historically speaking, throughout my adult life, I fell into the trap of the high protein, low carb lifestyle that pretty much everyone preaches. Carbs get such a bad name, but even educating myself in sports nutrition and personal training, carbs are very important for the body to function. And yet you will see fitness gurus and health and wellness influencers talk about insulin resistance and all sorts of things from the fitness space that they really know nothing about. They think they do, but when we look at the biology and physiology, first and foremost, insulin resistance and diabetes is not caused by carbohydrates. It's actually caused by dietary fat. That is an entire other conversation that we could talk about for hours. If you want the single best resource on that, I recommend the book Mastering Diabetes by Dr. Cyrus Kambata, PhD, and Robbie Barbero, MPH. So I highly recommend that. But we get all this noise from these influencers and they're not addressing the basic human need for carbohydrates. Now, I'm not talking cupcakes and cookies and all of that, but we need glucose. So a lot of us, myself included, at one point in time are running around on high protein, low carb diets with this insatiable sweet tooth, and we're going for all the wrong things. We're going for the ultra processed, carby snacks that have that salt, sugar, fat combo that make us feel that we can't quit those highly addictive foods. And we're blaming ourselves, we're blaming our body. I just have this sweet tooth, I can't get over it. My sweet tooth this, my sweet tooth that. And I was someone that had to have chocolate every single night after dinner. Every night. Without fail. To the point where like I would eat chocolate in the basement by myself. Which is kind of embarrassing, but here you go. That wasn't a sign that my body needed chocolate or that I needed a cookie. Oftentimes when we have sweet cravings, it's because we're not getting enough glucose. We're following all of these dietary fads and we're not giving our body what it needs. Every cell in our body runs on glucose. We can use fatty acids for energy, and we can also use amino acids, although those two are more inefficient. But having readily available clean carbohydrate energy from whole foods like fruit, potatoes, peas, starchy vegetables, things like that, that is going to help us to thrive. Not to mention, it doesn't just come with glucose. Fruit is not just sugar. It is hydration. It is antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, fiber, all of these nutrients that our body needs and that heal us and help us to lower inflammation, to reduce our pain, to increase our energy, to help us get better sleep. So again, a sweet craving doesn't necessarily mean that you need that thing that you're craving based on habit and history and emotion. It can point to the fact that you are short on glucose reserves and your body needs that for more energy. If you are someone that craves things like salty or crunchy things, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's cool to go eat an entire bag of chips. What these cravings can point to are mineral deficiencies. So if you're looking to support yourself through those cravings, it's thinking, what is it that I'm craving? Why am I craving this salty thing? And have I gotten enough minerals from my nutrition today? And we stack those in, and that helps us to manage our cravings overall. When we get enough of what we need, we don't have the cravings for the other things. chocolate cravings. I don't have chocolate cravings anymore. If I choose to have chocolate, it's a choice. It is not something that I feel uncontrollable with. But chocolate cravings can oftentimes point to needs for magnesium. Our body knows that there's magnesium in chocolate. So it's associating our common magnesium source with something that we also enjoy. But just because it has magnesium in it doesn't mean it's going to be the best source. I no longer have crazy intense sweets cravings. I no longer have chocolate cravings. I work with women that when they nourish themselves properly, they are literally shocked at the fact they're not snacky or bingy or having insane cravings, and they get to choose when they want to indulge versus feeling completely hopeless and helpless when it comes to their cravings and they just feel unstoppable. A craving for something rich or heavy or calorically dense or fatty can mean that we're not getting adequate calories. Sometimes it means that we need some fatty acids and some of those healthy fats, but oftentimes, and I know this to be true with myself, if I've undereaten for whatever reason, because I was busy, I wasn't as hungry later in the day, I will crave high fat foods because my body's looking for calories and energy. And you can get energy from fats, even though it's not the best. We thrive on carbohydrates. But in any event, going back to that original example, just because you're craving something, she was craving meat in this situation, but as you've seen, there are so many other cravings that we get. It doesn't mean that our body needs that one thing. It could mean getting some blood work to see if we are carrying any nutrient deficiencies, or a hair tissue mineral analysis, which I actually prefer as far as minerals go. Or it could mean temporarily tracking your intake on a tracking app like Chronometer, which I actually love because it's very in depth with all of the daily nutritional values. I like it a little bit better than MyFitnessPal for that. But tracking just to see if you're getting enough of what you need and really asking yourself, okay, I'm not getting enough. Where are the gaps and how can I fill them from whole, nutritious, nutrient dense foods? Or I am getting enough. Maybe these cravings are a little bit of an emotional craving rather than a nutrient gap. Some other things that we see with cravings when we have poor sleep, our hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin, are impacted and we crave foods that we may not typically crave. If we're stressed and cortisol is raised, it can impact our cravings. If we are having other hormonal shifts, it can impact our cravings, and even dehydration impacts our cravings. And oftentimes we mistake dehydration for hunger, and instead of giving our body water, we choose to eat, and we're usually eating food that is void of hydration or has had the hydration removed, and then it actually takes hydration from our body in order to digest that food, so we further dehydrate ourselves, and it is an endless cycle, as you can see. So when we have intense cravings, other things that we can do is look at our sleep and make sure we're getting adequate sleep. Are we going to bed at the same time and rising at the same time? Sometimes it's not always ideal with work schedule and kids, but how can we adjust it? How can we have good sleep hygiene? Can we make sure we're adequately hydrated? Can we try to modulate our stress and work on nervous system regulation? And that doesn't mean you never get stressed. It means we don't live in a chronically stressed out state. Nervous system regulation has gotten this reputation for, well, I'm just calm, cool, and collected all the time. And that's not what it is. It is being able to have your emotions, but not live in that high state of stress and anxiety or that fight or flight all the time. We need to be able to bring it back down into rest and digest so our body can restore and repair, because it can't do that if we are constantly in fight or flight. So here's the solution. We need to get in tune with our bodies. And I know that can be easier said than done. And this isn't to white knuckle or like push through the cravings and just be miserable, essentially. We don't want to be healthy and miserable. We want to be healthy and happy. But the goal is to reduce the amount of cravings that we get in the first place. It's interesting. They've done studies, particularly on college students, and they looked at those that are supposedly successful versus those that aren't as successful academically in sports, so on and so forth. And they look at these people and they really looked at how many times they caved into temptations or cravings that they had. And they didn't just have it with food, it was like with drugs, alcohol, smoking, other things as well, intimacy. And they looked at the differences. And what they actually found is that those two groups of students actually caved in the same percentage of the time. They gave into their cravings the same amount. So what was the difference? Why was one group successful and why was one group struggling? The difference was the successful ones put themselves in situations where they would be tempted less frequently. So how can we translate this for food? Making sure that we're eating nutrient-dense whole foods the majority of the time. And no, nutrition is not ever going to look perfect, but we can start by making sure we're getting enough glucose, vitamins, minerals, and hydration. Making sure we're getting enough sleep. Doing small practices, even if it's just a couple minutes of deep breathing per day, or gratitude affirmations, things to lower our stress levels. Doing these practices will help make cravings less frequent and less severe. And that's how you succeed. You may still give them the same percentage of the time, but when you have a lower amount of cravings to begin with, that equates to less giving in and feeling like you're failing. You're not failing. It's normal. You're human. But how can we support ourselves is the question that needs to be answered. And we have that right here. When we prioritize glucose from fruits and starchy vegetables, we have energy that sustains us throughout the day. When we load up on leafy greens and things like celery and cucumber, these things are not inert. We often look at them as having like no body, or they may not keep us full as long, but they are nutrient dense to give us the vitamins and minerals that we need. Sea vegetables have things like iodine, and they can help bind to toxins in the body and remove them from the system. Nuts and seeds can provide us with things like selenium, healthy fats, and zinc. When we're consuming enough glucose and minerals to keep us energized and sustained throughout the day, the cravings for some of these foods greatly diminish until they all but disappear. When we're eating fiber that is satiating and helps keep us full, we have less hunger that we have to deal with. Not that hunger is bad, hunger is a good thing, we need it, right? But it keeps us from being hungry shortly after eating when we're eating low fiber foods. So many people are out there on GLP-1s to lose weight and suppress their hunger, but if they ate more fiber, it helps to satiate us and actually helps us to produce GLP-1s naturally. Eating foods with high water content like celery, cucumber, oranges, random different fruits and vegetables like watermelon, this helps to hydrate us. So instead of having a craving and thinking it's hunger, we are more hydrated and that craving quiets. So when you have a craving, here's what I want you to ask yourself. Am I actually hungry? Am I nourished? Have I had enough sleep? Am I adequately hydrated? Am I underfed, or is this emotional or stress related? Now, again, we do have emotional cravings, and sometimes it is helpful to appease that craving. It makes us feel good for some reason. Maybe it's something that your grandmother used to make and you're really craving it. That can help get you through whatever emotional weather that you're enduring. But when we're talking about cravings as a whole, we need to ask ourselves, what is actually going on and what is going to help me in this moment? What do I need? Do I need something emotionally? Do I need to talk to someone? Do I just need a hug? Do I need to cry? Do I need some sleep? Do I need some nourishing food? And that is true intuitive eating. That is what intuitive eating and body positivity looks like, and being in tune with what we're actually feeling. So I just want to remind you, you are strong, you are capable, you are not a slave to your cravings. If you want to connect directly, go to vitalityholistichw.com/book and put some time on our calendars. That way we can chat about what you're experiencing and how I can help you just like I've helped many of my clients move through these cravings and actually nourish your body so you can get your energy back, so you can reduce your symptoms, so you can feel good again and overcome weight loss resistance. Let's talk about that. And coming up here shortly in the next month or so, we're going to have a couple of things. I'm revamping the Surviving to Thriving workshop. So if you want to sign up, I'll put the link in the description below. And also the Vitality Reset Challenge I'm going to be running, I believe, September 14th through the 20th, but those dates are tentative. Let me know if you want to sign up for that. I will put the link in the description box below once it is ready to go. That will be a 7-day challenge where you will have access to me for 7 days. There are going to be a few components to it. There's going to be a lesson, an action, feedback, and a movement as well. So I believe that as of right now, that's how we're going to do it. With that being said, if you want to check out another video, you can check these out, and I'll see you later.